What's going down, everybody? Welcome back, man. So it's part 2 of the Hawk 250cc. Well, going through, I guess you could say. So in the first part, we did the wheel sensor and we did the speedometer cable. We went through the front brakes, made sure they were good. We found out what was rubbing the rotor, put a couple of washers on there until I can bring my bandsaw home to trim that bolt up, and then we can put it back in. We also put the mirrors on there. So let me turn this camera around. So I've been over here, man. We put the mirrors on, right? I got the headlight back on. I kind of did some wiring. So the wiring harness has the plug for this here, right? So what I did, I just took the end of the plug and cut it off and black taped it or electrical taped it real well and plugged it back in so I don't have an open connection and it won't short out later. I wished I would have shown y'all before I tucked it all away and put it up, but it is what it is. So with part 2, we're gonna turn this back around. I already pulled my seat off. It was missing a couple of bolts. I found a couple of bolts for it. The battery, if you've noticed in other videos, it was side post terminal. So I swapped them to top post. It looks better. Now, I'm going to set y'all up and then we're going to rip this carburetor off. We got to take this tank off. Then we're going to get the carburetor off, change the spark plug out, get the other one bolted on real quick. We're just going to go with, let's see here. Hold on. So here's the new one. It's a PZ50. It's just a Japanese carburetor. So we're gonna go with factory settings. I also have to take the slide out and swap the slide out with that one, unless it's the same. If it's the same, then we may go with it. Now, let me get you set up and then we're gonna go from there. All right, so we have a 10mm for the tank to frame bolt here. And then there's 2 8mm for your shrouds, and it just slides off. I'll show you that here in a minute. Our vent hose is already disconnected. I checked that it's free. It's important that it's free. So I'm gonna get out the 1/4-inch ratchet. And if you hadn't realized, if you've been with me for a while, I like to use deep sockets if I can, for like a little more extension. Plus it makes it a little easier. Now another thing we have to get into once I get this tank off is I have to figure out why the horn quit working, because, well, the horn quit working. I've been trying to slide all these boots back on here, man. A lot of these boots are off. You know, I want to give it back to my nephew top notch, man, top notch. Whether he was going to sell it or whatever he's going to do with it, you know, that'll be up to him. So, now I had a fella comment on me the other day about working on his Hawk 250. And man, I have to say, honestly, guys, this thing is super fun to ride. Like, super fun. There's 1 8mm right there for one shroud. Turn these handlebars. Well, how awkward is that? One short, one long. I guess we'll go with what we got. So there's that. And then we need a 10mm. Your 10mm will be this one right here in the center. like so. Make sure your spacer, I mean your rubber gasket will stay on the tank, so just leave it there. And then, so, let me grab this camera. So down in here, these are where your 8mm go, right here. You're just gonna take that and do that, right on both sides. It's plastic, don't get crazy, but you can be a little rough with it. Now that that's there, we're gonna set y'all back up. And then the tank slides off. Oh, one more thing, I forgot to disconnect. So, don't forget to disconnect your hose from your petcock here. And also your tank sensor wire right here. Which, yeah, I can set y'all up real quick. Whoa, we're getting a little wild here. There we go. Zoom y'all in. There we go. So you unplug your tank mount here. Just like so. That's for your fuel gauge on your instrument cluster. Then you get this. Right? And you're just going to pull it back a little bit like so. Now get ready, you might get a little bit of gas, you might not. I'm not really sure, depends on if you rode it or not. I might, yep, there's a little. The engine's cold, so we're not worried about that. Now, we can pull this tank off of here. And there we are. So we're gonna set this off to the side here. Which ought to be good, that ought to be good. So now that all that's out of the way, right, we got open access here. So tank connector here. And also while we're in here, I have to figure out why the horn quit working, because it did. And I am not, oh, right there, perfect. So that was simple enough. Our horn quit working because it was unplugged. Plug that back in. Horn works. Super sweet. So let me get set up. 8mm. We're gonna change the spark plug. You're gonna undo that 8mm. And then we're gonna slide that out of there and swap it out real quick. Man, we're gonna get this thing fired up here pretty quick. So just hang tight, guys. Here it is. So I was wrong. It was a 10. It's not an 8. It's a 10. And then we're just gonna take these loose. Right? Just like so. Once they're loose, oh, I'm gonna run them off by hand. There's one. This one's a little more tricky because if it falls, you got to watch where it goes. And then slide that thing off of there, and voila. And then there's our second bolt. Now with our slide, we're just gonna unscrew that. Slide that out of there. And voila. So this thing's probably got some gas in it. All right, ran over there, drained that bolt. So there's a couple things about this. One, there was no O-ring right here, right? So, and two, well, that's about it, is one. Now we have to get this off of here. I need this fuel hose, right? There's a couple things we're gonna have to do before we can just get that other one up and going. Wow, I didn't realize that. I bet I'm close. Let me back that camera back up. There we go. So I do need the fuel line here. Right? And it's like a hose. You just want to twist it. Maybe get you a little screwdriver. Where'd my little screwdriver go? Right here. Little handy flat blade screwdriver there. And then just break it loose. Right? Now, for me personally, like I stated, there's a little bit you got to do to this. So, first things first is we're going to take, where are my cutters at? All right, I'll be right back. All right, so they give you a piece of fuel hose, right, with this new one, come on the bottom. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this new hose and I'm gonna slide some of it right here, right? I'm gonna hook it up right there. All the way down, nice. Then we're gonna take our little finger clip. It's a constant tension clamp. They're actually pretty neat if you can handle them, or once you get the hang of them. Right? Actually, that's not too tight. I don't really like that. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that one off. We're gonna do this here. So we're gonna take the one that came with the hose and put it with the hose, or put it on the carburetor side. This one here came off the old hose, the old carburetor. Y'all just bear with me for a second. Not all things go as smooth. I'm gonna set this right here so y'all can watch me fight this clip down, right? Now you're not gonna see a lot of pressure, but you do want it to seal off, right? So be careful with your hose if you have to. Pinch it and slowly work it over, right? Because you don't want to cut that hose and then boom, perfect. Put it off to the side, perfect. Right? Now, so also what came with this, where's it at? Is a fuel filter, which I think is cool. And then once we go to tie that in, we'll cut that in the center and we'll be good to go. And if all else fails, I just put a zip tie. I got small zip ties. So, with that, we need to look at this. There's our top, there's our spring, and then there's our slide. Perfect. So we're gonna leave it at factory setting like I stated. And then, now we're gonna take this one off. So, let me zoom back in. And then I'm going to show you how we do this. So you got to pull this spring up, right? And then you just slide it down your slide piece. Like that, right? And it comes right out. Voila. Now, they gave us a new spring, so we're going to use it. Might as well, right? Right. Might as well. See if there it is. We're gonna use the whole new cap, everything. Pull that off of there. Come on, baby. You know you want to come off of there. All right, we're going to drop back and punt. Just like so. And then that'll come all the way out. Perfect. Now I am looking at this thing's all messed up. So we're going to take this, straighten it back out as best as possible. And then, well, we're going to have to stretch it. We're going to have to find a way to stretch it. And look, that worked perfect. I mean, perfect. Cramp that back on there, kinda. I mean, you gotta understand, fellas, we're going through this and we're finding stuff. I mean, just like anything else. Well, we're almost there. The spring goes inside, right? But the way we want to do this, we want to put it up in here like so. And then we got to fight it up and hold it. Make sure your cable goes right through the center of it. All right, here we go. Oop, I was wrong on this one, guys. Hold on. All right, hold on. I did this one a little backwards. And so this one, you got to go through the hole, right? And then it slides through like so. And then if you want, just and voila, there it is. So, and be careful, don't bend your needle. You don't want to bend your needle. Now with that, we can go ahead and throw the other carburetor on there. New carburetor has the O-ring. So I'm gonna put now with these carburetors, ow, handlebar. There is a slide, right? And then if you look in here, if you can see down in there, there's a pin sticking out right there on the top side for that slide, right? And it's only going to go in one way. So slide it down in there, be gentle. Make sure your jet goes down in the hole. You're not going to force it, right? You don't want to force it. You just want to make sure your slide goes down in the right spot. And once it does, it'll go all the way down like that. Tighten your cap on there. It has a little O-ring in there, so just, hand tight, run your throttle, look inside. Perfect, man, that thing is perfect. Slide it on there like so. 2 10s, they're not 8s, they're 10s. This is the fun one, guys. But as you see, it can be done. Now, something I noticed last time I did this is this cable, like that and like that, is really close to that. So what I want to do is I want to slide this down. This whole thing, this rubber grommet and everything. So when I bolt it back up, which it goes right here, like this. See? And when I plug that back up, that thing is not so close. It was way down here by the exhaust, which was too much. Plus I can roll it up like that. So let's snug this up. And then we got to change that spark plug. We got to cut our fuel filter in here. And then we can put our tank back on. And we can go from there, gentlemen. We are getting close now. 10 millimeter. Cookie. And then we're going to snug that up. Now you don't want to get crazy on it because you don't want to tear your adapter here. And then that'll be that O-ring in there will seal it. Check your throttle's good. Now we're going to change the spark plug real quick before we get to the other side of the bike. So the one that's in here is, let me get the right one. It's I believe it's a 3/4. It is a 3/4. So let's pull this thing out of here. Perfect.
Honey, digging a hole.
Cookie, quit digging holes. So I did pull this out and look at it and clean it up. And I got my brother-in-law to give me another one just to be on the safe side. It doesn't look real bad, a little white, which if I'm not mistaken, that's lean. It's running a little lean. Not sure. Now, with these spark plugs, you gotta make sure I got the right one, and you gotta make sure that your thread pitch and length is the same. Perfect. So you have to make sure the thread pitch and length is the same for 2 reasons. One, If it's too far down in the top of your cylinder head, well, it's gonna meet the top of your piston, and that's catastrophic. And if it's too short, then the proper spark ain't gonna get down in the top of your cylinder, and once again, catastrophic. So, it does matter. I need to get my spark plug gauge. It's supposed to be 0.24 to 0.33. So let me check that real quick. Now I got my spark plug gap checker, whatever you want to call it. So I run it on there. We are 0.24. So that's what we want. Let's throw this bad boy in here. We know the length is the same, the gap is correct. Go ahead and get this thing snug. So, you don't have to get crazy. Look, listen to me here, guys. Right? So, with a spark plug, you have this crush ring on there. It's there for a reason. Right? You don't have to bury it. You just want to fill that ring crush well, and then that's it. Plug your spark plug back in. That's perfect. So the only thing we have left to do, cut our fuel filter in, put our tank bag on, and fire this bad boy up. So we got our fuel filter here. So if you're looking on it, it does have a flow arrow. You want to make sure that the flow's coming from the tank to the carburetor. So let's get our fuel line here. I'm gonna want my fuel filter about right here. So with that, we're just gonna take we're gonna cut it right there. So that's perfect. Now, like I said, flow arrow goes down towards the carburetor. Put our little clip on there. I don't know if it's going to be well enough or not, but we're going to try. Flow arrow down. We're going to shove it all the way on there. We want it all the way down. And I want my flow arrow pointing out so you can just look at it and tell. Right, there is no guessing that way. There we go, perfect. Now we got to put our gas tank back on. So with the gas tank here, these two nubs right here slide right here on this. So you want to make sure everything's tucked out of the way, and then here we go. I'm going to set it on there. Make sure that one wire, this wire here, is not caught in there. And then just like that. Now while we're here and we have access to it, where'd it go? Right here. This is our fuel tank. fuel level gauge, we need to plug that back in. Which, if you just put your hand under there like that, that's pretty simple. Right, they plug in pretty easy. Like that. And with that, you just slide it all the way to where your bolt hole lines up right here. You're good to go, fellas. With this, you just pull your plastic out. I mean, you got it. Once you get it past there, it's good to go. Now, let's bolt this tank up and then we'll cut that piece of fuel line. We'll be good to go. Okay, man. So we got it, dude. Everything's bolted up. So, let's see what we got. First start. Gas on. I don't see no leaks anywhere. Choke on. All right, let's see if this thing's got enough juice to turn over or if I gotta kick it. No, I'm gonna have to kick it. So here we go. Let's see. That was half choked. Let me get my screwdriver. We got to idle it up a little bit. And then once it warms up, we can set the idle, because you cannot set the idle with a cold carburetor. So, here we go again. There we go. Let me turn that thing in some. See what we got here. That's on choke. Well, we'll get it going here in a minute, fellas. That's probably a bit much. You hear it. Choke on. That's half choke there. All right. Let me back that out. Fuel on. Choke on. Well. So there's that, but I think I need to adjust the air fuel mixture screw in the front up here on the bottom. We're gonna let it run here and warm up. All right guys, we got it going, man. It's sitting here idling on its own. We're gonna take it for a ride, see what's up. Here we go, man. First ride. Let me put my little rubber grommet bag on real quick. Yeah, hang on just a second. All right, rubber grommet on. Here we go. That thing comes down to a nice idle. Not about 3/4 throttle. man, you hear it idling, right? We're gonna shut it off, turn the key off, turn the key on, turn the button on. Listen to this. There it goes. So, with that being stated, now, I did realize it was cutting out about 3/4 throttle when I was riding it. Man, it's freaking cold out here today, guys. It is cold, dude. So, I'm gonna have to tear back into it, check my air fuel screw. Down here, it should be about a turn and a half out from slightly seated. We'll see. I gotta let it cool down, and then so on and so forth. So in the next video with this, we'll adjust our air idles, our air fuel mixture screw, and get this thing tuned in completely. So with all that, keep living the dream, doing your thing. This is part 2 of the Hawk 250 2-part series, and man, we got it going.